Hello, good morning, everybody. So, today we will start a new topic on conjunctiva. Hope you are all fine, healthy. So, we will start the lecture, the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is a thin, translucent vascular mucous membrane. It covers the lids and is reflected over the anterior part of the eyeball up to the limbus. So, in this picture, you can see the conjunctiva. It lines the lids. So this part is called as the palpebral conjunctiva. First is marginal conjunctiva, then palpebral conjunctiva, then orbital conjunctiva, forniceal conjunctiva, bulbar conjunctiva, and the conjunctiva at the limbus. So these are the parts of conjunctiva. What is conjunctiva? Conjoin means to join. It joins the eyeball and the lids. So the name is conjunctiva. The conjunctiva has two layers, epithelium and stroma. The lymphatics, preauricular and submandibular lymph nodes. The conjunctiva is richly vascular. Blood supply, it is from anterior conjunctival artery, posterior conjunctival artery, and palpebral branches of nasal arteries. The parts of conjunctiva, as I mentioned, palpebral, bulbar, and forniceal conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is rich in goblet cells which secrete the mucinous component of the tear film. You know that in our lecture in the dry eye, we know that the tear film consists of three layers. So one of the layer, that is mucus layer, is secreted by the goblet cells of conjunctiva. The other two layers, that is aqueous layer, is secreted by the lacrimal glands, and the lipid layer is secreted by the Meibomian gland. The nerve supply to the conjunctiva, the sensory nerves, that is a branch of ophthalmic and maxillary division of the fifth nerve, and sympathetic nerves, they are derived from the sympathetic plexus. So in bacteriology, there are non-pathogenic bacteria and pathogenic bacteria, all they are present in the conjunctiva. The non-pathogenic bacteria, they are Diplococcus and Corynebacterium cheirosis. Pathogenic bacteria, they are Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, and Pneumococcus. They are present in the conjunctiva. Then the glandular tissues of the conjunctiva. The accessory lacrimal glands, glands of Krauss, they are 42 in number in upper fornix and 82 in lower fornix, and glands of Wolfram at upper border of superior tarsus and lower border of inferior tarsus. These are the glandular tissues of the conjunctiva. The mucin secreting glands, goblet cells, crypts of Henle, and glands of Munz, they are encircling around the limbus. The bacterial growth is inhibited by mechanical washing away action of the tears, bacteriostatic action of tears because the tears contain lysozyme, immunoglobulin A and immunoglobulin G, and the low temperature of the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is always exposed to the atmosphere. So the low temperature of conjunctiva and mechanical washing action of the tears, it causes the prevention or it prevents the bacterial growth. Then we will see what are the reactions of conjunctiva because the patient comes to our OPD with the chief complaint of watering, redness of eye, or discharge. So these are the reactions of conjunctiva because of some insult. So insult is because of bacteria, it can be because of fungus, it can be because of the virus. So the conjunctiva reacts in a certain way, so you can diagnose by seeing the patient or eliciting the signs. So the reactions of conjunctiva, namely they are hyperemia, that is increased redness or you can say vasodilation, then discharge, so it is thickening of the discharges. Then you can have a membrane. In membrane you can have a true membrane and pseudomembrane, then papillae and follicles. These are the reactions of the conjunctiva on which you can diagnose a condition. And there are some symptomatic conditions of conjunctiva. Symptomatic, the patient by which comes in our OPD. So subconjunctival hemorrhage means hemorrhage under the conjunctiva. Chemosis means edema of the conjunctiva. Then there are some degenerative conditions by which a patient can come to our ophthalmology OPD. One of the condition is called as a pinguicula. It is a fat-like structure, yellowish structure at the limbal area. Then pterygium, it is a growth. You can say it is a growth of a conjunctiva in the palpebral fissure. We will deal with in a when we are dealing our degenerative conditions about conjunctiva. Then there are tumors or cysts. So conjunctival retention cyst, or there is another condition that is called as conjunctival tumors or conjunctival lymphoma or ocular surface tumors. So we have to deal with the reactions of conjunctiva, then disease of conjunctiva. So conjunctiva is exposed to the surroundings, so it can fall prey to bacteria, fungus, virus. So you can have a bacterial conjunctivitis, then you can have allergic conjunctivitis, then you can have infection with a trachoma, that is viral, or you can say in between viral and bacteria, chlamydia trachomatis infection. So that can be another our topic for discussion, that is trachoma. Then ophthalmia neonatum, that is a condition seen in a newborn child. Discharge from the eye, bilateral sometimes, that is ophthalmia neonatum, that will be dealt in another topic. So today we will deal with diseases of conjunctiva, symptomatic conditions of conjunctiva by which a patient can come to our ophthalmology OPD. As you know that patient can present to the clinic with symptoms related with the visual disturbances, then symptoms related with the ocular surface disorder, and there are some symptoms that is called as asthenopia, non-ocular headache. So we are dealing here with symptomatic condition, that is hyperemia, chemosis, subconjunctival hemorrhage, xerosis, that is parenchymatous, epithelial xerosis, and conjunctival pigmentation. So we will see each one by one. So what is hyperemia of the conjunctiva? This is an important from your theory point of view, that is for a short note. So it can be asked for a 4-mark short note. So what is hyperemia of the conjunctiva? So passive dilatation of the conjunctival blood vessels without exudation or cellular infiltration is called as hyperemia. The patient came with the chief complaint of redness of eye. डोळे खूप लाल झालेले आहेत. अशा प्रकारे तो पेशंट आपल्याकडे येणार. So you have to see what is the cause of hyperemia of the conjunctiva. So what are the causes of hyperemia of the conjunctiva? So it can be acute transient hyperemia. It results due to temporary irritation caused by direct irritants. It can be reflex hyperemia. It can be hyperemia associated with systemic febrile conditions. As you know, there are some febrile conditions in child. It can be a measles. You can have a redness of eyes. Then non-specific inflammation of conjunctiva. So it can be an acute transient. Transient means temporary hyperemia. Then you can have a causes, that is conjunctival irritation by smoke, dust, fumes, and it can be an occupational hazard. You can say a person, a postman, a milkman, then a person who is doing a cooking occupation. So they are exposed to the smoke, dust, exposure to wind and sun, prolonged wakefulness, just like students in exam time. Then refractive errors means uncorrected refractive errors, and metabolic disorders, that is gout and diabetes. All these conditions cause hyperemia of the conjunctiva. So this is a passive dilatation of the conjunctival blood vessels causing red eye. Then recurrent or chronic hyperemia, that is seen often in smokers, chronic alcoholics, people in dusty, ill-ventilated rooms, workers exposed to prolonged heat. All these people will have a recurrent or chronic hyperemia. What are the symptoms? The patient will tell you a gritty foreign body sensation, and they are distressed because of the redness. Because in a social gatherings, if they go, everybody will look at him as they have taken some alcohol, they have taken some drinks, because all the time their eyes are red. So they feel discomfort, they don't want to go to the social gatherings. Their chief complaint, that is mild lacrimation and redness of the eyes. If you pull the lower lid down, you can see the fornical conjunctival congestion. So the lid is in contact with the bulbar conjunctiva, and so there is a congestion in the fornical conjunctiva also. That congestion of conjunctiva, that is marked in fornices, just we have mentioned. What is the treatment? Cold compress is the treatment. Generally, drug should be avoided. If the patient wants the drug treatment, you can give temporarily by topical decongestant eye drops or astringent lotion like zinc sulfate. But the problem with the drug is that when you stop putting the eye drops, there is a rebound hyperemia. When the drug you stop, there is rebound hyperemia. So generally you should do cold compresses. The cold compresses will cause the compression of the blood vessels, and so you will not get a rebound hyperemia. Then the another condition, chemosis. This will be again called for viva chemosis question, or you can have a short note. Chemosis, exudation from the abnormally permeable capillaries leading to edema of the conjunctiva is called as chemosis. In this picture you can see there is a yellow or gelatinous collection in the conjunctiva, and it is coming out of above the eyelids, above the cornea. The conjunctiva becomes swollen, looks like gelatinous. The collection of exudate is most prominent in bulbar and fornical conjunctiva. The condition looks tricky. So what are the causes of chemosis? It can be local inflammatory conditions like acute conjunctivitis, keratitis, corneal ulcer, fulminating iridocyclitis, orbital cellulitis, panophthalmitis, acute congestive glaucoma. All they can cause chemosis of the conjunctiva. Acute dacryoadenitis, acute dacryocystitis, also they can contribute in chemosis of the conjunctiva. If there is a local obstruction to flow of blood and lymph, just like it may occur in patients with orbital tumors, cyst, endocrine exophthalmos, venous stasis, orbital pseudotumors, caroticocavernous fistula, blockage of orbital lymphatics. In systemic condition, the chemosis can be seen in congestive cardiac failure, severe anemia, allergic reactions, that is drug allergy, urticaria, or angioneurotic edema. In this condition, you can get chemosis of the conjunctiva. Then another condition that is important from clinical point of view, from short note point of view, that is theory point of view, it is called as a subconjunctival hemorrhage. So this is a common occurrence. You can see bright red color. It is because of the formation of oxyhemoglobin. The subconjunctival hemorrhage, it is minute petechial to extensive hemorrhage that is spread in exposed parts of the bulbar conjunctiva. So how will you see a patient of subcontinental hemorrhage? So there is no pain or mild discomfort. Whether what is the vision? You have to exclude foreign body. Generally, the patient may complain about, or maximum times the complaint is because of trauma. The subconjunctival hemorrhage has a well demarcated area. There is no discharge. You have to check for areas of other bruising, history of anticoagulants, then blood pressure. You have to ask the whether the patient has lifted any weight, whether there is a compression on the chest, whether he was present at the place of a stampede, or whether there is any increase in the sudden intrathoracic or intra-abdominal pressure. So you have to ask in history what to determine what is the etiology of this subconjunctival hemorrhage. The another name is ecchymosis. Ecchymosis. The condition though draws the attention of the patient immediately as an emergency, but in most of the time it is trivial. The clinical features of the subcontinental hemorrhage, it present as a flat with sharp demarcation. There is absence of inflammation. It can be uniform, bright red in color, and it is towards the limbus. So it is coming from behind. If it is coming from behind, you can think of fracture. If there is a line of demarcation, it is a localized one. So in this picture, you can see in a child there is a subcontinental hemorrhage at the temporal as well as the nasal limbal area, and in the first picture it is too big, the subcontinental hemorrhage causing chemotic conjunctiva, too much blood behind the conjunctiva. So the trauma, inflammation of the conjunctiva, sudden venous congestion of it, spontaneous rupture of fragile capillaries, local vascular anomalies, blood dyscrasias, bleeding disorders, acute febrile systemic infections like malaria, typhoid, diphtheria, and vicarious bleeding. In the time of menstruation, in females, you can get subcontinental hemorrhage, that is called as a vicarious bleeding or vicarious menstruation. So that in trauma, it can be a direct injury or it can be a head injury. Infective conditions like pneumo or picornavirus conjunctivitis, that can be petechial subcontinental hemorrhages. They are associated with acute hemorrhagic conjunctivitis caused by picornavirus, pneumococcal conjunctivitis, leptospirosis. Then you can have a mechanical, that is sudden severe venous congestion of head, that can be seen in whooping cough, bronchitis, vomiting, blowing the trumpet, then in fits, strangulation, stampede, accidents causing compression of the chest. So the subcontinental hemorrhages may vary owing to rupture of conjunctival capillaries due to sudden rise in the pressure, that is intrathoracic or intra-abdominal pressure. Generally, it can be seen because of the violent compression of thorax and abdomen. It can be seen in crush injuries also. Then arteriosclerosis and hypertension. So that can be diagnosis of hypertension can be done at ophthalmology also. A 40 or 45-year male patient suddenly coming with a subcontinental hemorrhage, and you ask the patient to go for medicine, and you can found that the patient is having a systolic or diastolic hypertension. So that may be the first indication. Subcontinental hemorrhage may be the first indication of hypertension. Then blood dyscrasias like leukemia, thrombocytopenic purpura, hemophilia, they can cause this subcontinental hemorrhage. Spontaneous rupture of fragile capillaries may occur in vascular diseases. Just we have noted local vascular anomalies like telangiectasia, varicosities, aneurysms, blood dyscrasias like anemia, leukemia, bleeding disorders like purpura, hemophilia, and vicarious menstruation means at the time of menstruation. It is an extremely rare cause of subcontinental hemorrhage, but we may encounter. And idiopathic. Then the important sentence: in head injury, subconjunctival hemorrhage appears late. The posterior limit is not seen. So trauma is most common cause. It can be local trauma. It can be because of surgery. It can be because of the subconjunctival injections. The injections in retrobulbar injections while giving anesthesia, or you can give in peribulbar block, you can get a hemorrhage. The retrobulbar hemorrhage, which almost immediately spreads below the bulbar conjunctiva, it can result from retrobulbar injection and from trauma. Now, you should remember this injury to orbital structures. So where there is an injury and where the subconjunctival hemorrhage occurs. This can be useful from medical point of view or medical legal point of view. So fracture roof of orbit, fracture floor of orbit, fracture apex of orbit and fracture base of skull. You can see at the roof of fracture the subconjunctival hemorrhage along the levator palpebrae superis. So the ecchymosis can be seen in upper fornix and leads. If there is a fracture of floor of the orbit, you can see the subconjunctival hemorrhage along lower fornix and leads. At the apex of orbit, you can see along lateral rectus muscle. Fracture base of skull, you can see the blood travels along the floor of orbit, then to the fornix and to the conjunctiva. Generally, that will be seen after 12 or 24 hours. So, local injury, subconjunctival hemorrhage, and fracture base of skull. So, this is the differentiating point between two. So, when the subconjunctival hemorrhage is because of local injury, the posterior edge or posterior border is seen. The densest part is anterior. Anterior edge is towards the limbus. The color is bright red and it is onset is soon, or you can say immediate. When there is trauma, something, the subconjunctival hemorrhage, if it is because of the local hemorrhage, it can be seen immediately. But if it is because of the fracture base of skull, the posterior edge or posterior limit of the subconjunctival hemorrhage is not seen. The edge is posterior, so it is away from the limbus, and the color is purplish, and it can be seen after 24 to 48 hours. So these are the differences: local injury and fracture base of skull. Medical legal importance is that you have to write in your certificate if you are as an officer and the patient came with a complaint of subconjunctival hemorrhage, that is redness in the eye, and there is history of trauma. It can be fist injury. So you have to decide about the age of injury, cause of injury, grievous and non-grievous. Sometimes the subconjunctival hemorrhage consists the scleral perforation. So you have to be careful. You have to see the vision, record of the visual acuity, and mentioning of the injuries. The treatment in normal conditions, the assurance is important. You have to give lubricating eye drops. There is no need of aspirin. Vitamin C can be given. You can also give serratiopeptidase tablets. Generally, we are asking the patient to take a lemon. लिंबू सरबत घेतल्यासारखं त्याला सांगायचं. Aspirin is not allowed because it will act as an antiplatelet agent, so the bleeding will not be controlled. Cold compresses also you can give. Then there is another topic we will discuss, that is conjunctival pigmentation. This is also for a short note. The conjunctiva may show discoloration in following systemic and local conditions. So red discoloration, so it is a discoloration. A bright red homogeneous discoloration suggests subconjunctival hemorrhage, and it leaves a brown pigmentary spot. Yellow conjunctiva is seen in jaundice, presence of bile pigments. Grayish black conjunctiva is seen because of application of kajal, surma, mascara in females. Brownish grey conjunctiva is seen in argyrosis at lower fornix, iatrogenic Pre-antibiotic era, you were using this silver nitrate salts in trachoma patients, so it was looking brownish gray. Brown pigmentation, it is because of non-melanocytic pigmentation. It can be endogenous or exogenous. Endogenous, it can be seen as a characteristic symmetrical semilunar accumulation of brown or gray pigments in the sclera or bulbar conjunctiva is found in ochronosis. Incomplete metabolism tyrosine and phenylalanine occurs in this endogenous. In Addison disease or chronic adrenal insufficiency, exogenous brown pigmentation, non-melanocytic pigmentation is seen in long-term topical use of adrenaline in glaucoma patients, and melanocytic pigmentation is seen in conjunctival epithelial melanosis, subepithelial melanosis, and pigmented tumors. So we can have a short note on this conjunctival pigmentation. Thank you. So hope you are solving the questions you have been given. So for today's topic, you have to write a short note on the differences between conjunctival congestion and ciliary congestion. I have not talked about, you have to search it. And then symptomatic condition of conjunctiva. If possible, you can write on the reactions of conjunctiva, that is hyperemia, chemosis, or you can write papillae and follicle differences. So the first question you have to write about the differences in conjunctival congestion and ciliary congestion, and write short notes on follicle and papillae. Thank you.